Rodent droppings, dirty ice machines, and food that's growing mold. These are things you probably don't ever see when you go to a concert or a football game, but health inspectors do.
So what are the most critical violations at Utah stadiums and venues? Who fares the best and the worst, Mike?
Yeah, some good questions, Dave. I like to think we answered those questions. The KSL Investigators examining hundreds of health inspection reports to find out if your stadium food could be making you sick. There is nothing quite like going to a big event, right? The sights, the smells, and of course, yeah, the snacks. And for many of us, the pretzels, the hot dogs, the cotton candy are half the fun, but not.
I was hungry, looking forward to my food.
Yeah, not for all of us. Stephen Curlew and his friend were at USANA Amphitheater back in August. Steve bought a chicken sandwich, and this
Makes me a little nauseous, actually.
Yeah, this is what he got.
Steve bought this. That's raw chicken. That chicken, and look how raw it is in the middle. Disgusting.
It was a chicken sandwich, all right, but it was completely raw on the inside. Once they realized it,
I probably had about almost half of the sandwich.
they took it back to the vendor and got the impression this may have happened before.
We brought it back to her. She said, yelled back and said, we have another one. So I don't know if that was like the second one or if that could have been the 10th one. We have no idea.
Yeah, that is definitely undercooked.
Haley Schaefer is a food inspector for the Salt Lake County Health Department. On this day, she's doing a mock inspection for our camera at Rice-Eccles Stadium.
Hi, everyone, with the health department. Just here to do a routine inspection.
She checks big venues about once a year.
They did know I was coming today.
And make sure their food is safe. She says that raw chicken sandwich
Would that be a critical health violation?
Definitely.
was definitely not.
So if you were to eat raw chicken, there's a very high chance that you would get salmonella.
So the KSL investigators wanted to know, could your stadium food be making you sick? We examined nearly 500 health inspection reports from stadiums and other big event centers in Salt Lake, Utah, Davis, Weber, and Cache counties. 14 major venues in total and hundreds of violations over the past 5 years. So here's a few examples of what we found. A rodent bait station not covered at Rio Tinto. The meat slicer unclean to sight and touch at the Maverick Center. And at Lagoon, a complaint that the caramel apple was moldy on the inside and gave 2 people food poisoning. Meanwhile, at Hogle Zoo, violations include a container previously used to store poisonous or toxic materials is being used to store food. And rat droppings behind the stove.
With Hogle Zoo,
Schaefer says in the case of the zoo, that is actually not a big deal.
they have tons of animals, and they're feeding those animals all day. That's going to bring in rodents.
But this violation is. The Dippin' Dot station at Hogle Zoo was the only spot at any of the venues health inspectors actually shut down for a short time, closed for lack of hand wash water.
If we show up to do an inspection at a temporary booth, at a concession stand, a food truck, and you don't have hand washing, sorry, you're closed.
One of the most common violations, dirty ice machines or ice bins. An inspection at Cowabunga Bay took it to a whole new level, though, citing the ice machine is unclean with deposits of pink slime mold.
Bacteria likes to be where it's dark and moist. It's an ice machine, so it grows horrifically in the cracks and crevices of an ice machine.
Another common violation at all the stadiums, and potentially the most dangerous.
When were these made?
Food not being stored at the correct temperature.
They're holding at 46.
In this case,
So they will need to be rapidly cooled.
fruit cups tested about 5 degrees too warm.
Sometimes we see temperature violations, and that could get someone very sick.
So, how did the venues stack up against each other? Well, since every county's health department has a different system, we ranked 8 locations in Salt Lake County to compare apples to apples. Here's how they fared. At the bottom of the list, with the highest average of critical violations, Cowabunga Bay. Its average score was almost double USANA Amphitheater, which came in 7th. Then it's the Maverick Center, Hogle Zoo, Rice-Eccles, Smith's Ballpark, and Rio Tinto Stadium in that order. And at the top, Vivint Arena coming in with the very best scores.
And we hardly see any violations in their 50-plus facilities now.
Quick disclaimer, though, because of new owners, Vivint only had 2 years worth of data versus 5. And one location at Vivint had one of the worst overall inspection scores. That was Cubby's. Schaefer chalks that one up to a learning curve.
So a lot of their violations came from just the mass amount of people they were trying to serve.
All in all, health inspectors say Utah stadiums and venues are very clean and very safe as far as food goes. But as a consumer, there are 2 main things you should watch for.
Hand washing and bare hand contact. If someone's handling your corn dog with their bare hands, ask for another one.
This has kind of started becoming more like jelly. And
If you ask these
know,
guys, though,
tough and-
they've got a couple more tips. Check the middle of your chicken sandwich and
All I'm saying is a donut never would have done this to us.
yeah, exactly. Eat more donuts.
Disgusting.
it's right about the donuts, isn't it? Salt Lake County Health Department has all of its inspections online for every stadium and restaurant, so you can always check them out and decide for yourself if you want to eat there. And if you'd like to see how many violations we found at all 14 venues we checked out, we'll have detailed information on KSLTV.com.